So welcome Dr. Seema, our students coordinator, Steffi, and my colleague, Dr. Rino, and all the third years and final year part one students to this session. Okay, so Dr. Seema actually is my PG batchmate. Okay, so we did a PG in Savita Dental College. Okay, so she was one of the very talented oral surgeons at that point of time, and she was very brave enough to take up surgery. Till that point of time, we never had girls taking up oral surgery. So she was one who set the trend for the change of girls taking up oral surgery. Okay, നമ്മൾ ഈ സിനിമയിലൊക്കെ പറയുന്നത് പോലെ ഈ ധൈര്യം നമ്മുടെ ചാൾസ് ശോഭരാജിലെ കണ്ടിട്ടുള്ളൂ എന്ന് പറയുന്നത് പോലെ Seema was the unique person to take up that challenge, and now today she is here as a very famous oral surgeon and a good cosmetic surgeon in Chennai. Okay, so with these few words, I welcome you all to this program. I would like also to invite our program coordinator, who is Steffi Sarjan, who is the 4th BDS Part 1 coordinator of this program. So Steffi, please do introduce the speaker to our audience.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. So it is with great privilege I welcome all of you once again to another session of SKIP. I welcome our professors, Dr. Bentley George and Dr. Rino Rupak, who's actually helping us make this possible in every way they can. And also it's my honor, ma'am, to invite you for today's session, Dr. Seema Alice Matthew, for today's topic, Botox in dentistry. Last but not the least, I invite all my dear friends to the session. I take this opportunity that is given to me to invite our speaker today, Dr. Seema Alice Matthew. So before we begin, let's have a quick look into her life. She graduated from Christian Medical College, Ludhiana in 2005, and thereafter pursued her postgraduate training in oral and maxillofacial surgery from Savita Dental College. She secured the top rank in all the 3 years of her MDS course and also procured the highest score in 2010, member of Royal College of Physicians and Surgeon Examinations, UK. Her ardent fever and passion to learn and excel drove her to procure a fellowship in implantology in 2012 and a PG diploma in medical cosmetology. She's currently working in the Department of Oral and Maxillofacial Surgery at Ragas Dental College and Hospital. She's also practicing as a consultant maxillofacial surgeon at various hospitals and centers in Chennai. She's presented various best papers and lectures in the field of maxillofacial surgery, various state and national level conferences. Her work has got its recognition through the various articles and publications she has to her credit. So it's my great privilege, ma'am, to invite you and honored to have you here. We welcome you to the session, ma'am.
Thank you. I will share my page. Can you see the screen?
No, ma'am.
Can you see this? Can you see my screen? Hello?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, it's
okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Finally, I wish I had a class, face to face with all of you, seeing all of your faces. But this is also okay. Thank you for the opportunity. I won't take much time. Namaskar ellarkum. I won't take. I'll show you mostly practical aspects of using Botox, how it has sort of revolutionized my practice. So I bring you greetings from Chennai, from the land of the sun, the sand. It's very hot, but nowadays it's raining. It will flood anytime, so we don't know how it's going to be, but the filter coffees are excellent. So all of you are welcome to Chennai for coffee. Okay, now one thing that I would say is dentistry has revolutionized over a period of time where we sort of not only do our basic dentistry, but we have revolutionized, and especially the field of oral surgery. We not only deal with the hard and soft tissue reconstruction, we do a lot of plastic work as well. We all know that we all do a lot of orthognathic surgery, basically correcting the jaw position to change the face. Then these are all orthodontic surgery, asymmetry correction, especially if there's any asymmetry in the bone, we even go and correct them as well along with doing orthodontics. Now, head and neck oncology is also something that dentistry has advanced, or maxillofacial surgery is really advanced in doing. Cleft and craniofacial surgery is another segment of oral surgery where you have advanced it into. Now, apart from that, we also do a lot of other surgeries like nose surgery or rhinoplasty, ear reconstruction, nasal reconstruction, prosthetic work, hair transplantation, TMJ surgeries, salivary gland surgery. So what is facial aesthetics? It is one of a very new topic which is it's actually gaining a lot of interest and attention. So as an oral surgeon, you would ask me, how did I start venturing out into this? So mainly along with being a surgeon, I always felt that a non-surgical approach along will also help my patients in getting better aesthetic results. So there are non-surgical, without doing surgeries, you can also help in transforming the face. Now, what are these non-surgical aesthetic procedures? So they can include Botox, fillers, thread lips, mesotherapy, microdermabrasion, lasers, microblading, or permanent pigments. But I'm not going to touch any of those topics today. I'm only going to talk about Botox. Now, what is Botox? Okay, so my life revolutionized when I had a trauma patient. So this was one of my accident patients. He came with multiple facial fractures. He had both the sides of the orbit that was fractured. He had the nasal bone that was fractured. He had the zygomatic arch, the maxillary, both the maxillas that was fractured. Now, he was a person who was on screen facing the camera, but he told me, ma'am, whenever I look at the middle part of my eye, especially between my eyes or the forehead region, I feel my skin is drooping down. So surgically, what all I could do, I did as a surgeon, but this little bit of thing was troubling him. He said, whenever I stand in front of the camera, I feel my eyes are sunken. I have a sunken look. So that is when I thought, what is it that I can do to sort of, help this patient? And that is when I found out that Botox can really help. So I ventured out, went, got myself trained in it, and then I learned. So this is the problematic area. And this is the result I got for this patient the minute I put Botox basically for his forehead and the glabellar region. So what happened is that it could raise his forehead region and he got the bright look that he was looking for. Okay, so what is Botox? Botox is basically botulinum toxin. It is found by the Clostridium botulinum bacteria. There are two types, that is type A and type B. So the brand name usually they are marketed is in the form of Botox, Dysport, Myoblock, all those types. So now Botox are available in different varieties, but there is a therapeutic dose that you can inject into a patient. Now Botox, when it is available from a manufacturer, it is available as 50 units and 100 units. So they usually are available in small vials. You have to dilute them with saline and then use them. So usually you have to maintain Botox in a cold chain. That means you have to always keep it at a cold temperature. You should never get Botox exposed to heat because it can get disintegrated. You should never mechanically shake the Botox too much because again, it can dissociate the product. Now it's very, very highly sensitive to technique and temperature. So no shaking and no heat. Now, how is botulinum toxin diluted? Now, the dilution of botulinum toxin is with 0.9 ml of saline. If it's a 50 unit vial, you will dilute it with 1.25 ml of saline. And if it's a 100 unit of Botox, you dilute it with 2.5 ml of saline. Now, how does this Botox work? Now, we all know the neuromuscular junction. We have learned it in our physiology classes. Neuromuscular junction, where you have the vesicles that have the acetylcholine. The minute a transmission is, goes into the nerve channel, acetylcholine is released. It goes through the neuromuscular junction and it activates the muscle. That is how the muscle moves. Now, what does Botox do is it goes and blocks the receptor. So what happens when acetylcholine is released? It cannot go and cause its action on the muscle. So the muscle movement is relaxed or the muscle is paralyzed. So this is the same thing that is done by Botox. When Botox is injected into a particular muscle, it reduces the movement of the muscle. So what do you have on a face? You have the skin and below it you have the muscle. Now when the muscle movement is reduced, the skin does not move. So what happens? The wrinkling does not happen. So this is what Botox does. It does not allow the skin to move above the muscle. So the muscle activity is reduced. Now the Botox effect usually lasts for 3 to 5 months. and it goes off. Why? Because there are lateral channels of nerve endings that forms, and again the activity of the muscle is gained back. So you have to keep repeating the injections of Botox usually. Now, what are the uses of Botox? They are used both for cosmetic purposes and they're used also for therapeutic purposes. Cosmetic will be for your wrinkles, any fine lines and wrinkles. I'm sure everybody has lines and wrinkles. Everybody has tension these days. And again, one of the main cause that we see in our dentistry is the masseter hypertrophy. This because of the hyperactivity of the masseter muscles, the masseter muscle growth, it becomes bigger. Or we have gummy smiles. Most of our patients, they come with a complaint of gummy smile. So Botox can be easily used for gummy smile. Now, therapeutic use, that means if you have other uses where you can use it medically, is if you have PMG disorders, salivary, secretory disorders, facial pain, nerve palsies, muscle movement disorders, and perioperative use of Botox. I'll explain to you about all these things. Now, the most common thing that people see is the lines on the forehead. That is because of the hyperactivity of the frontalis muscle. So frontalis muscle is this band of muscle that extends from the forehead to the occipital region. It causes the raising of the eyebrows, or that is why you can lift your eyebrows. But what happens with time and age, the skin sags over the muscle and it leaves those lines. Those are called as dynamic line. That is, with movement, you can see the lines appearing. Sometimes there are static lines. That means at rest itself, there will be lines that are seen. That is because of the indentation that is caused under the skin. It is because of the hyperactivity of the muscle that has left, lines on the skin. And usually for the static lines to go, you have to fill those areas. Okay. So when Botox is injected into the frontalis muscle at the points of the wrinkles, it causes the relaxation of the muscle and the skin does not move, and you have a stretched appearance of the forehead lines. Okay. Again, it is also not only used by men, it is also used by women also. So it's basically this muscle that you look at, the forehead muscles. Now, again, the next muscle that is there in our mid-face region is the procerus muscle and the corrugator muscle. So when you frown or when you try to become angry, you will see those lines in between your eyebrows. You can even relax that and prevent them from having a very angry look. So when you relax the procerus and the corrugator muscle, you can relax the angry or the frown lines. Next lines, when you smile, is the crow feet lines. You can see this is like a crow feet. That is because of the hyperactivity of the orbicularis oculi muscle. So when you inject Botox onto this muscle, especially in this region, and 3 points, 1, 2, 3, and 4, 3 points, it will cause the relaxation of this muscle and these smiling lines will be erased. Now, if you want to give a brow lift to any patient, you want the eyebrows are drooping down and you want to lift the eyebrows, especially to improve the aesthetics of the eyebrow region, you can give Botox at the tail of your eyebrow and it will sort of help in lifting up. Now, there are two muscles that are in action in the forehead region. One is your frontalis muscle, which helps in pulling it up. Next is your orbicularis oculi muscle, which is helping it to pull down, and your corrugator and procerus, which helps to pull down the eyebrows. The minute you give it on this, you're relaxing this muscle. So only the frontalis is in action and it causes the lifting of the eyebrows. So there are two muscles that are in opposite action. So whichever muscle you relax, the other side muscle will be active and it will help in lifting the eyebrows. Now again, nowadays the concept is to have a very thin face, that is to have a V-shaped jawline. Some people have a very squarish face. That means the jaw looks more broader. And if they want a well-defined thinner jawline, we can give Botox at the masseter muscles on both the sides. It helps in thinning the jawline. So this is called as a Cleopatra's, jawline. They want a very sharp jawline. So to get this sharp angle, usually you give Botox to the masseter muscle and also to the platysmal muscle to get the sharp V-shaped jawline. Now, this is one of my patients who had hemifacial hypertrophy. That means one side of the masseter is normal, but the other side is hyperactive. It looks odd. It looks asymmetric. That's because one side, the masseter muscle was hyperactive. So all that we did was give him Botox in the masseter muscles. So it is easy for us to correct asymmetries in the face with Botox. Now, bruxism is something that is very common in dentistry. Because of bruxism, the masseter muscle tends to become hyperactive and it hypertrophies also. To relax that muscle and to correct bruxism, again, Botox is given. Now, One main thing that we see in the industry is our gummy smile. Most of our patients come with gummy smile. As a surgeon, we usually go and do surgeries like gingivoplasty, either gum lengthening procedures is done, or orthodontic procedures are done, or orthodontic surgery like the leaf osteotomies are done, or for the gummy smile correction. But suppose if the patient says, I do not want to go through surgery, okay, I want my gummy smile corrected. So all that is done is Botox is given at the corner of the nose to drop the orbicularis of oris muscle. So it helps in dropping the muscle down, and the hyperactivity or the rolling action of the muscle does not happen. So it helps the gummy smile to be corrected non-surgically. Okay, and you may ask, how long does this effect last? It lasts around 3 to 5 months. After that, if they want, they can repeat the injections. Now, to know about gummy smile in advance, there was an article that was sort of published. It says the anterior, some people have a raised smile in the anterior part. That is because of the exposure of the hyperactivity of the levator aliquonaceae muscle. This muscle is hyperactive. So this part of the gummy smile is more prominent. When the zygomaticus major and minor muscles, so they have a more wider smile. When the aliquonaceae, zygomaticus major, minor, and the rhizorace, all these muscles are hyperactive, you have a more wider smile. So hyperactivity of all these muscles can cause a wider smile and a more gummy show of the smile lines. So if you want to correct all of them, you give Botox to all these. So this is an article that said 5 units of Botox in this region to relax the aliquonaceae. If it is the aliquonaceae and the zygomaticus major muscles, then 2.5 units of Botox is given. If it is, a more wider smile, you divide the 2.5 units and give it in these 3 points. A more asymmetric smile is sort of corrected in this fashion. So one side which is balanced, you give less Botox. The one side that requires, which is more hyperactive, you give more Botox in that region. Now it takes around 72 muscles to frown and only 14 muscles to smile. So, correcting the smile is very important because we work in the facial region or around the oral cavity. So creating a beautiful smile is very, very important as dentists and aesthetic surgeons. Okay. Now, one more muscle which I want you all to remember is the depressor anguli oris. This muscle is very important. Why? Because it causes the drooping of the corner of the mouth. See, when you have denture patients, you give dentures to your patient, but you still feel that the corner of the mouth is drooping. So the minute they smile, they don't get that aesthetic look because this corner of the mouth is drooping down. It is basically because of the depressor anguli oris muscle. So when you sort of give Botox to the depressor anguli oris, it helps in lifting up the corner of the mouth. There are other techniques also to lift the corner of the mouth, that is injecting fillers and other stuff, but we will only stick to Botox. So Botox really helps in relaxing that muscle which causes the drooping of it. The minute you give it, it relaxes. So the downward pull is reduced. Again, it is not only done by older patients, even in younger patients, the minute they lose weight, everything tends to sag down and droop down. So again, depressor anguli oris, injection of the injection in the DO helps in lifting the corner of the mouth. Now, another indication where Botox is used is in Frey syndrome. That is, when you eat, you tend to sweat. So nobody likes to sweat when they eat. They want to enjoy eating. So that is because of the cross connection of the sympathetic and the parasympathetic nerve in this region. So again, Botox is found, to be very effective when Botox is injected into the parotid gland region, especially 10 to 15 units. It causes the gland to go into the secretions reduce. So the amount of sweating also reduced, the amount of salivation also, excess salivation is also reduced. Botox is also given to the submandibular gland if they have excess salivation. Suppose if somebody has a cerebral palsy or a disease in which there is excessive drooling, then Botox can be given into the salivary gland, 10 to 15 units in the parotid gland, 10 to 20 units in the submandibular gland. Usually the sublingual gland is not injected. Now, TMJ disorder is something that's very, very common, and most of our patients come with TMJ pain. We know that TMJ pain is because of the effect on not only the joint, but also the myofascial pain because of the muscles that are involved. Now, I have been very successful at treating my TMJ patients by also not only doing arthrosynthesis and giving them the TMJ splint, but also by Botoxing the masseter muscle and the temporalis muscle. Usually they will say because of the hyperactivity or the pain, usually I'll give them Botox to the masseter and as well as the temporalis. There is also ultrasounded guided Botox injection to the lateral pterygoid muscle, which is the anterior attachment of the disc, condylar disc. So Botox can be also given to that to reduce the PMJ pain. So it allows the disc to shift to its normal position. But giving Botox to both these regions have also helped, because many times the mistake that people do is they only Botox the masseter. They forget that the upward pull of the temporalis, which is attached to the coronoid process, also needs to be Botoxed. Okay, now there is a study and an article that was I came across. It was very interesting that they say that if there is a condylar or a cartilage injury or a trauma to the condylar joint, giving Botox injection to the lateral pterygoid muscle prevents ankylosis. We don't know how true it is, but yes, I feel that more studies are required to sort of prove this this theory. Okay, now Botox next action is, it is very important and very useful in any kind of pain, especially myofascial pain, migraine pain, trigeminal neuralgia, bruxism, hemifacial contraction. As I told you again, Botox can be given to your temporalis, your masseter muscle, even to the trapezius muscle, the back muscles of the neck, to relax the muscle and eliminate pain. Now, Botox in facial palsy. This is very interesting to me because I got once a patient who she had an asymmetric smile correction with facial palsy and hemifacial hypertrophy. Now she was operated by my surgeon friends in Chennai. They did the orthodontics for her. They did the orthognathic correction for her. But still her smile is asymmetric because she has facial palsy. Now, how do you correct her facial palsy? So it was very interesting. So this is the first time I got a case. So I thought, yes, Botox will work. So what I did is I corrected her by doing Botox. All that I did is there is a hyperactive side, that is this side, and this side when she smiles. So all that I did is give her Botox to not only the orbicularis muscle, the zygomaticus major, minor, the depressor anguli, oris, the mentalis on this region. So I could correct her smile to an extent. So all that this patient has to do is to correct her smile or the hyperactivity on one side is to keep repeating the Botox injections to paralyze or to reduce the activity of the hyperactive side of her face. Now, Botox is very, very useful in dentistry and in every field, and the use of it usually comes out when you think out of the box. See, you have something, if you have the skills, if you learn, and you know how to apply it, you can actually create magic in your patient's face. Now, the complications of Botox, usually there is no complication as such. Usually when a patient gets Botox done, we usually tell them to avoid exercising for 48 hours, no lifting weight, no applying heat. All these are the instructions that are given to the patient. The only thing that can go wrong when you give Botox is if you inject Botox into a wrong muscle, you can cause paralysis of the wrong muscle and it can cause asymmetry. Suppose if you're doing an injection for the eyebrows, to lift the eyebrows, and if you go down and inject it into the zygomaticus major or minor muscle, it can cause drooping or asymmetry in the smile. That side of the face can droop down. If you accidentally give the injection into the inferior angulus or inferior angular oris muscle, it can cause drooping and asymmetry in the muscle. So any wrong injections that you give can cause asymmetry, and it takes about a couple of months for the Botox effect to reverse. So that is the only thing that you need to be careful when you give Botox injection. Otherwise, there is nothing, no complication. The amount of Botox that you give usually depends on the bulk of the muscle. A temporalis muscle or a masseter muscle, the amount of Botox that is given is more compared to a small muscle like a procerus muscle. A procerus muscle will give 5 units, but a Botox will take around 30 to 40 units. So that's all with my talk. Thank you all for listening very patiently. So I leave the audience to ask questions and the rest of the organizing team. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Seema, for the very short and sweet presentation. It was indeed very good for our students. It is because this is not a topic which we discuss in our routine curriculum. Okay, so this is something new to our students. I hope our students got an idea about how do you do a Botox application in facial aesthetics. Okay, so dear students, if you have any doubts, you can enter your questions in the chat box so that Steffi can take it up and ask you. Yeah. So, however, Dr. Seema, what is the span for the Botox when you do in patients? What is the span that it lasts usually?
It usually lasts minimum for 4 to 5 months. They say 6 months, but after 6 months, usually they come for a touch-up to repeat it.
Oh, okay, okay. And
So
what is
nothing
the,
that you do is permanent. So because with age and time, our face keeps changing and everything in our face changes. Skin changes, the muscle changes, everything changes. Everything tends to sag. So if you want to look youthful and young, yes, you need to keep doing it.
yeah. And what is the charge? How much do you charge for it?
See, the charges depends from place to place and the kind of practice that you have. There are people who charge 400 per unit, or 800 per unit, or it depends, 200 per unit. So it depends on how much units you're going to give your patient and how many units you're going to inject and what kind of practice you have. So according to the MRP, usually 100-unit vial, you can get it for around 10,000 rupees. So you can charge it accordingly. I mean, how much you want to charge.
Okay, so the cost is 10,000.
10,000 per 100 units, but 50 units in a different company would be around 9,000 rupees, 10,000 rupees. So it depends on what you want to inject into your patient. Different companies have different rates, but this is the standard rate.
Is there any patients who has developed any allergic reaction?
Yeah, there are patients who are hypersensitive to Botox. Yes, they can develop. There are patients also who are, resistant to Botox because of the particular type of Botox does not work in them because they have developed resistant factors to it. So then you use a different brand or you use other techniques to tighten the muscle. Other techniques will be like, radio frequency, or you can use surgeries, or you can use thread lifts, or you can use collagen induction procedures. There are different procedures to tighten the skin and reduce the wrinkles. So they can use other options if they don't want to go for Botox.
I think there was one question.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes, sir.
just take up the question.
So, ma'am, there's a question that does Botox make you look older after it wears off?
No, your muscle comes back to how it is normal. Doesn't make you look older. You will come back to, if you start from point A to point B, you have reached, you will come to point A only. You will not go A minus. You will not go worse than that. It's for
Also,
you to make.
Can it be used for fibromyalgia?
See, one thing is you should not use it for myasthenia gravis or any disorders where the muscle is, not going to recover back. Okay, where the muscle has a permanent damage or a muscle is not going to recover. In those conditions, it's better not to use. It's always better to use it for the standard indications because there is a lot of research that is required in all these indications. Not many people use it. So I think even in the industry, the amount of people who use it is to increase for us to come with large scale studies and publications.
Also, ma'am, what is the maintenance phase? Do we need to maintain anything after Botox injection?
Botox injection maintenance is you put on Botox, or you can also go use fillers also, because aesthetic correction doesn't happen with injecting only one thing. It happens by using multiple things, and maintenance happens by using also creams and products that helps you in anti-aging. Basically, retinol is another thing that helps in reducing the lines and wrinkles because it helps in shedding of the skin and also repair. So Botox is not the only thing that you use. It only works on the muscle to relax the muscle and so that the skin looks stretched, but still if the skin surface has irregularities, there are other treatments that are used for reducing the finer, getting the finer definition. Even fillers are used when there is volume loss, because with age and time, what happens are we lose fat, or we have under eye circles, or we lose fat, and everything tends to sag down. So it's very important to replace the volumes. For that, we usually use fillers. And it's also very important when we start sagging down, we also need to do the lift. So apart from doing surgical facelift, we have non-surgical facelift options which are done with threads. Usually long needles with threads are inserted, and they sort of are used to lift the face. So this is done by the chair side. The patient comes in, does this, and they go back home or they go back to their work. So nobody knows they've done anything. but they work over a period of time to sort of lift the face and give a rejuvenated, youthful look. So it's always important to start early than start late doing all these anti-aging procedures.
So, ma'am, when it is given for any TMJ pains and all, can it be a permanent cure?
No.
No.
No. I have a patient whom I had done Botox twice or thrice. She had this severe TMJ pain where she could hardly open her mouth because she used to be crying in pain. So I tried doing arthrosynthesis, giving her Myosphasphor, the TMJ splint. Many of the patients don't even wear these splints. Okay. But the main problem was her muscles were also in pain. That means the masseter muscle and the temporalis. So first she went elsewhere, got her masseter muscle injected with Botox. She still had pain because the temporalis muscle was hyperactive. You understood? Then I gave Botox to the masseter, temporalis, and also to her trapezius muscle. So that helped in reducing the myofascial pain that she had, did an arthrosynthesis, did that procedure twice. Now she does not have any TMJ pain. So you need the long-term study to make any final conclusion. But I've always seen, along with doing our standard procedures of giving the splint, giving the muscle relaxant and the arthrosynthesis, relaxing the muscles also helps. A couple of sessions is required. Maybe after that, if they're not symptomatic, you don't need to inject them with Botox.
Thank you, ma'am.
I think we can come to the end of our session. I think Dr. Reno, you can propose the vote of thanks. Yeah.
Yes, he's muted.
Yeah. Dr. Reno. Yeah.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. Actually, it's my privilege to propose vote of thanks. On behalf of Department of Public Health Dentistry, I take this opportunity to express my gratitude to our renowned speaker, Dr. Seema Alice Matthew, for her excellent presentation. Actually, it was indeed a nice presentation, a new thing to our students. Thank you very much, ma'am. And I would like to thank Dr. Belly George, Vice Principal and Head of the Department, for his constant support. Then also I express my gratitude to third year's final year part 1 students, especially the coordinator, Steffi Sargent. Actually, our next program will be on 11th December, and the topic is interpretation of CBCT scans in dentistry. Anyway, once again, thank you all.
Yeah, so finally, thank you once again, Dr. Seema. It was a great pleasure to have you in our STIP third session. So thank you well. So all the audience also, thank you very much. And we'll have a great day. Thank you very much. Yeah. And Dr. Seema, your certificate and the memento, we'll be sending it to, as a courier to you. So don't worry about it. Okay.
Okay,
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.